my last class, we have covered uh, Unit 1 as it is our subject BHIC 131. We have covered Unit 1 in my last class, and now in my this class, we are going to cover Unit 2. In Unit 2, archaeology as a source and prominent archaeological sites. This is the name of Unit 2. In this Unit 2, we will cover the objectives, introduction, archaeological sites, and what they are made up of, methods in which archaeology in the field, analyzing the evidence, some prominent archaeological sites in Indian subcontinent. And at the end, we will cover up the story about the archaeology. Now we are going to start about our objectives of archaeological survey of India. Yes. Number one, the nature of archaeology. We will cover this as a source for reconstruction of the past. And on second number, what is an archaeological site and how it is worked. Next, we will cover the methods of fieldwork and data collection in archaeology. Next, about prominent ancient archaeological sites in the Indian subcontinent. These are the objectives which we will cover in our Unit 2. Next, we are going to introduce about the archaeological and the history of archaeology in India. History and archaeology both share the same aim, like reconstruction of the past. However, they are differ in the sources and methods they use they use to reconstruct the past. Unlike history, which uses written sources for data, archaeology studies material remains that have been created and used by humans since their appearance on the earth. These material remains encapsulate the information about human behavior and experience. These remains cover a wide range of things which people used and discarded, such as stone tools, such as structures, bricks, pottery, metal objects, sculptures, coins, inscriptions, and so on, which are preserved in the archaeological record, both on the ground and under it. Among these, the studies of coins and inscriptions have evolved their own sub-disciplines called numismatics and epigraphy, and respectively. Now we are going to study about the history of archaeology. As you have seen in the picture, that how we reconstruct, how we excavate about the archaeological survey in India. Next is every society engaged with its past. As you all know, the origins of archaeology can be traced to the fascination for beautiful old things and treasure hunting to acquire such things. In the early stages of evolution of archaeology, the Danish scholar C.J. Thomson devised in 1817 about the three-age system of Stone Age. Have you listened about the Stone Age? Three-age system of Stone Age, like Bronze Age, Iron Age, and archaeology of this time comprised of text-based archaeology and prehistoric archaeology that was not based on text. This has into several disciplines such as environmental archaeology, geoarchaeology, and so on. Next, in India, too, archaeology had similar beginnings. Like it started with the adventurers, explorations during the colonial period. That was followed by antiquarianism, in which the sites and artifacts were studied. Without the rigorous methods of excavation, contextual analysis. In the beginning, there was a dominance of text-aid archaeology. Have you listened about Sir Alexander Cunningham? Sir Alexander Cunningham surveyed the length, the breadth of north part of Indian subcontinent and trying to identify the cities and settlements mentioned in the accounts of Chinese pilgrims such as Zhuangzhang in 1861. The Archaeological Survey of India was established with Cunningham as its first Director General. The first Director General of Archaeological Survey of India was Alexander Cunningham. He came here for survey about the past, and he was little bit confused that the Zhuangzhang and Faxian who came in 5th century and the 7th century in India to search about Buddhism because they both were from Buddhism religion and they wanted to search about the Gautam Buddha's birthplace, death place, and sermon place. That's why they came to India in search of Buddhism. In the last decades of 19th century, a number of areas were surveyed. Monuments were mapped and recorded. In the early 20th century, with the efforts of Viceroy Lord Curzon. Lord Curzon was the British Governor General who came to India in search of the immense history to know about the Indian and the efforts of Viceroy Lord Curzon due to his immense interest in archaeology and the respect for archaeological remains in Indian subcontinent, the Ancient Monuments Preservation Act was passed in 1904 for the preservation of ancient Indian monuments. The ASI conducted explorations and large-scale excavations in the Indian subcontinent under Sir John Marshall and Sir Mortimer Wheeler. After independence, the ASI means Archaeological Survey of India continued expanding its work. At the same time, the discipline of archaeology began to be taught in several universities and academic institutions, which were also active in the field of archaeological research. Today, the ASI is a vast institution. There is a big building of ASI in India and in other countries in the world. There are also state archaeological departments and academic institutions like the Deccan College. Many universities teach archaeology and conduct excavations. Next point, we will going to cover archaeological sites and what they are made of. Archaeological sites as you have seen in the picture because if we are going to excavate the archaeological things then we will have to be moved like on the field survey and in the desert area and wherever we find any sources to know about archaeology artifacts and ecofacts. Archaeology bases itself on the study of artifacts, which are portable objects made or altered by humans. They provide important evidence, such as the process of their production, the raw material out of which they are made, the technology involved in their production, the use of such objects, etc. There is another kind of evidence which is non artifactual, the organic and environmental remains, known as ecofacts, which can reveal many aspects of past human activity. They include animal bones, plant remains, soils, sediments, etc. They help us understand aspects related to the environmental conditions in which people lived, variations in climate, and their effects on humans. What kind of food they ate, and so on. These type of knowledge we gain from artifacts and ecofacts. Next is the archaeological site. Do you know about the archaeological sites? Archaeological sites are those sites where we find some historical movements, historical monuments, historical things which they were using at that time. Artifacts, ecofacts, features, structures are found together on the archaeological sites. An archaeological site is a place which contains significant traces of human activity. In other words, these are places where human beings have done some activity in the past. The range of activities performed by humans is very wide, from cave paintings to the building of pyramids, Stonehenge, cities like Mohenjo-daro, to a small place where hunter-gatherers made their stone tools. Therefore, the investigation of archaeological sites for retrieving information becomes primary task of the archaeologist on the basis of which the past human life ways are reconstructed. Archaeological sites are these sites. Now, the question is how archaeological sites are formed? In other words, how do they arrive at the condition in which the archaeologists discover them? There are two ways in which an archaeological site is formed, like number one, cultural, and number two, natural. These are known as the formation process. The cultural formation process mean the activity human beings deliberately do at a place such as making and using artifacts, building houses, abandoning them, digging pits for garbage disposal, discarding things, etc., or accidental activities such as the loss of things. The natural formation process primarily govern the burial of the site through natural events. For example, the forces of nature like wind, water, animal activities bring changes in the nature of things that are present at a site after their abandonment by humans. Wind, sun, rain erode structures away slowly. The wind-borne sand on the sediments brought by the rains are gradually deposited on the site. Sometimes sites or part of sites are buried by sand deposit caused by flooding. We have listened about Indus Valley civilization. You all have also listened about Indus Valley civilization. There we found some burials. There we found some mummies. Okay, and after gaining about that in that archaeological sites, we came to know about the burial system of Indus Valley civilization. From these archaeological sites, we know about what was going on in our past. Next, the natural formation process also are the agents which sometimes help in survival of archaeological record. For example, the city of Pompeii in Italy was buried under the ash of volcano Mount Vesuvius when it erupted in 79 CE. The volcanic ash preserved the city as it was in 79 CE, as you have seen in these sites. Similarly, extreme cold conditions, such as those of snowy areas like Alps, Arctic, and extremely dry conditions like those found in deserts or mountains, preserve organic materials. The examples include mummies found in Egypt pyramids or in Andes mountains of Peru. Wetland, marshy land areas also preserve organic materials such as wood, such as plant products, etc., such as at the site of Starkar in Britain. Tropical climatic conditions with warm temperatures, humid temperature, rainy climate, acidic soil, high vegetal growth, and insect activity do not allow the survival of ecofacts and can hamper the preservation of artifacts as well. You have seen two pictures here in these in this screen. Left side, this is an archaeological mound, Kalibangan, Rajasthan. What is archaeological mound? Mound is an area where it is uplift from the lower level of the earth. Then on mound we can see the important cities and the important rich people always lived there. That is known as the mound. And right side you can see an archaeological excavation in process. You know what is this? A one man is looking at there and he was doing some excavation work that is in progress. And credit goes to Deepak K. Nair. Next, we will cover that the methods. Methods, which type of methods we were using in archaeology in the field. Archaeological exploration or survey, archaeological excavation. There are two differences. Differences between exploration and excavation. We will see another one. Archaeological exploration. Archaeological exploration involves investigation of archaeological sites on the basis of surface remains. In other words, the archaeologists investigate the sites without excavating them on the basis of what is found on the surface. This exercise begins with trying to locate the archaeological sites. This is done by the archaeologist exploring a region or a particular area for finding these sites. For this, they use different methods. For this, what? For archaeological exploration. They use different methods. Initially, the sites used to be identified through aerial survey using aeroplanes by locating high mounts, cropped pattern and circles, etc. and so on. With the advancement of technology, now this is done through satellite images, geographic information system (GIS). Okay, even with the availability of many different ways of surviving the ground survey is the most prominent method of finding and investigating archaeological sites. On such physical method is village to village survey in which a team of archaeologists goes to different villages and to inquire about old settlements, old remains of the past. This has been extensively used in India. Another method employs a carefully designed plan for a regional survey, dividing the whole area into a grid and subsequent divisions. The archaeologists thoroughly explored all the selected grids or sampled units for any kind of artifactual evidence or traces of human activity. Such intensive explorations help in the discovery of new archaeological sites in the Indian subcontinent. Some large-scale archaeological surveys were. What about that? Vijayanagara Research Project, Vijayanagara Metropolitan Survey, Sanchi Survey Project, Two Range Project. You have listened about Vijayanagara Empire. Vijayanagara Empire, in that the famous king of Vijayanagara Empire was Krishna Devaraya. You have listened a lot of stories. You have read about Krishna Devaraya, a lot of stories about them. Vijayanagara Metropolitan Surveys, VMS, Sanchi Survey Project, SSP, and Two Range Project, etc. These were the archaeological surface surveys on large scale, which we have shown in that book. The locations of sites are noted with global positioning system, that is known as GPS, global positioning system, so that their pattern of distribution can be shown on a map. As you have seen in this picture, the locational analysis is significant for understanding why people in the past selected certain areas for settlements. And further, the finds are carefully observed, which they find like any object they found on that time. Then they observe carefully and they connect those objects to the present. Then they came to know about what the thing they were using about. Their locations, their nature, the quantities are recorded, taking photographs, preparing drawings. They used to do that all things. Depending on the aims of the survey, the artifacts can also be collected as samples for further analyzing, as you are seeing in this picture. So many people were busy in excavating on a site. They came to know about that site, then Archaeological Survey of India sent their officers, their laborers, their workers to that place, to that particular place, to excavate the things, what type of history they reconstruct from that archaeological site, as you are seeing on the picture. Next, archaeological excavation. The another part one is archaeological excavation. How they excavate on archaeological site. Surface explorations provide important results which can help us in answering certain questions. As as we see about any archaeological site, and we will came to know and we will have some questions about that particular place, which type of place was that and what type of people were living over there, these type of answers certain questions about that part. However, the artifacts collected from the surface do not belong to their proper context, as their appearance on the surface is a result of activities that have disturbed the original deposition. Because after excavation, we found some broken things, we found some things like we cannot uh, we cannot recognize them as they were using what was the main use of that thing. For example, erosion by rain, for example, plowing, animal burrowing, etc., may lead to displacement of the archaeological deposit near the surface. Therefore, for a deeper understanding of a site or various cultural phases in their context, archaeological excavation is undertaken. It involves systematically digging of a site to carefully uncover material remains created and used by the human beings in the past. What they were using? Next is depending on the aims of excavators. There are two primary ways in which archaeological sites may be excavated, horizontal and vertical. When they used to go to the archaeological site of that particular place, they used to excavate by two methods, horizontally or vertically. Excavations cause a variety of material remains to be unearthed from a bygone era. These material remains tells us about kinds of houses people lived in. Several questions may be asked of this data, such as what type of questions? Were the structures made of burnt bricks or wattle and daub? Did they have wells, tanks, bathrooms, toilets, storage spaces, drainage, shrines, or places of worship, etc., in their settlements? What sort of tools they use? Were they engaged in long distance trade? What may have been their social and political system? How did they treat their dead? These type of questions we have in our mind if we are going to excavate something on an archaeological site. These were the several questions that may be asked about that data. Next is analyzing the evidence. How we analyze the evidence which we have got from the archaeological site where we excavate so many things, like first of all, we use dating methods. Have you listened about dating methods? As we got some beautiful thing from that archaeological site, then how we will come to know about the date of that particular object? That is the dating. The primary question that arises in archaeological research is how old a particular object or a site is. First of all, this is the question. In other words, what time they belong to. Through traditional methods such as typology, stratigraphic sequence, stylistic analysis, broad conclusions can be drawn about the chronology. This is known as relative dating. Annual growth of the rings in trees also can be used for dating, which is known as tree ring dating. However, with the availability of ever advancing new scientific techniques, we are able to now date with much more accuracy with the dating method. The first breakthrough took place in 1950 when Willard Libby developed a method of dating organic materials such as wood or bone called the carbon 14 dating. Yes, on C14 carbon dating process, you can see the picture how they excavate the thing and how they give the date to that particular thing. You can see in the picture C14 carbon dating process how they give the date to that particular object which they collect from the excavation that is broken, that is not in good condition, but they give dates that because how much year before they were made up of. Next is production techniques and process. Production techniques and the process. A variety of objects are recovered through exploration and excavation. Yes. Archaeology informs us how they were made, like their production process and how they were used. Artifacts can be divided into two categories unaltered and altered. Unaltered objects do not experience a change in their nature after being fashioned into an object, such as stone tools. Stone tools, such as wood objects, such as plants, such as animal fibers, which they excavate from the archaeological site. Altered objects include materials that change their nature and form during production process. Almost all such materials require the control of head in their production, like pottery, metal objects, etc. Next is ethnoarchaeology. Ethnoarchaeology is a method adopted in archaeology to explain the archaeological record by studying the present community. In this method, each and every process related to a particular activity is observed. Each and every process related to a particular activity is observed by keenly observing each detail of the process. Attempts are made to understand what kind of pattern these activities might generate in archaeological record. For example, studying the traditional pottery production techniques in the present may help in understanding the ancient pottery. Means connected these two things as we will connect the pottery making past to present, present to past. Then we will come to know about the pottery production techniques in present, especially understanding the chain operator sequence of operations in using in explaining patterns and ancient pottery left by various processes during stages of production. Ethnoarchaeological methods have been employed to a wide variety of stages. Studies in archaeology that include inquiring about subsistence technique such as hunting, gathering, and they are more popular in understanding various craft conditions. Subsistence strategies means how they survived at that time. That time means at that time they survived through hunting. They survived through hunting and gathering, and they are more popular in understanding various craft conditions. what they were doing at that time. Craft conditions, just like they were making some craft things, they were making some craft work like bead making and garland making, these type of craft they were doing at that time. Thus, ethnography is essentially studying the practices of communities in present to answer archaeological questions. Those type of questions which we have in our mind. So, how will we come to know about that answer? By this process, we came to know about the answers which we are asking about. Next is experimental archaeology. Experimental archaeology. Under experimental archaeology, to understand past behavior process, the archaeological attempt to replicate experimental reconstruction under controlled conditions. Unlike ethnoarchaeology, where the task done by communities manufacturing particular objects in present are observed, the archaeologists themselves perform these experiments. Experimental archaeology has been successfully applied in stone knapping, which has helped in understanding how flakes were removed during the reduction of coal for making stone tools. Several other studies have been done, which include the reconstruction of process, such as those to explain the transporting of huge blocks of dressed rocks and erecting the structure at Stonehenge in England. Next is trade and exchange. As we are going to study about any, just like we gain example of Indus Valley civilization. Okay, then in Indus Valley civilization, we knew about the burial system, we knew about subsistence strategies which they perform for their task, and now we are going to study about trade and exchange. Okay, when we came to know about any particular archaeological site and we got any object just like mm, just like how they grind their cereals, how they grind their wheat. They used saddle coins. They used saddle coins to grind the wheat, and after that, they used to duff and they made chapatis, just like this. And in trade and exchange, we came to know about the exchange method. The exchange method means which they were using at that time, barter system. Barter system means the thing which they use to give to others, and in gain they used to take other things. Through archaeology, we can understand how different communities engaged in trade. Different communities engaged in trade, whether by land, whether by sea. When we find artifacts made of raw materials that are not found locally, when we find artifacts made of raw materials that are not found locally, it may be concluded that they came through trade. So many things they came through trade. And next is environmental archaeology. We have studied about trade and exchange. In exchange, they used barter system, and in trade, they used so many things, just like they trade from distant places, they trade from nearest places, distant places, just like Oman, just like Roman, just like Rome country. They used to trade with one another. Next is environmental archaeology. What is environmental archaeology? Environmental archaeology is the interdisciplinary study of past human interactions with the natural world. A world that encompasses plants, animals, landscapes, etc. These were known as environmental archaeology. Next is diet and subsistence. Diet means what they ate. Subsistence, how they ate, how they subsistence, how they reconstruct how they do all the things for their families. Apart from information about environment, plant, animal remains also provide a window into the diet, obsessing subsistence of people in the past. Diet refers to pattern of consumption over a long period of time. Consumption means, as we have given example of urban consumption and the rural consumption, like this pattern of consumption, how much we consume, how much we gain diet over a long period of time. This is known as diet. Through a number of ways, we can reduce what formed the diet of human beings in the past. How much diet and what formed diet of human beings in the past. The preserved macro-botanical remains by desiccation, waterlogging, cheering the grains may include grains such as wheat, barley, maize, rice, and so on. They used to cheer that things. Through chemical residues, analysis of cooking pots, cooked food can be identified in the terms of whether it belongs to cereals, legumes. For example, analysis of some amphora sherds proves that these storage vessels actually contain wine and olive oil at that time, as you have seen in the picture. Next is we will start underwater archaeology. Archaeology, archaeological site is on ground, is inside the water also. Next, we will read about some prominent archaeological sites in the Indian subcontinent. So many prominent archaeological sites in the Indian subcontinent, just like Bhimbetka. You have listened about Bhimbetka and Mehergarh, Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Dholavira, Takshila, Amravati, and Sachi. Amravati and Sachi are the places to know about Buddhism. There, the Gautam Buddha's relics were there. The follower of Buddhism always go there to search about you or to learn about Buddhism, to remember about Gautam Buddha. Amravati, Sanchi, Bharhut, these were the stupas to know about Buddhism religion. Bhimbetka was the place of uh, ancient society. Mehergarh was the place of ancient society. Harappa, Mohenjo-daro. You have heard about Harappa and Mohenjo-daro a lot. Like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro were the two cities, urban cities of Indus Valley civilization that were flourished at that time. These were the first urban cities at that time, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. There were so many things we have learned about Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. As you have seen in the picture Mohenjo-daro, so many things we recall at that time about that time, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. So many things just like in citadel, just like lower house. There were differentiate between the two groups, just like upper class people and lower class people. Lower class people always live in lower cities, okay, and the upper class people always live in citadel. Citadel, in other words, we can say uh, upper house also. Just in Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, these two things were also done over there. And there were a lot of difference between social system, political system, and cultural system and social system. There were so many things which we have seen in our books in Mohenjo-daro and Harappa sites. And in Mohenjo-daro, there we found Great Bath. There we found about the Great Bath. Great Bath which were open in the particular religious functions. Great Bath. That there were a rectangular tank which were flowed into the water, and they used, the people of that time, means the rich people of that time, they used to bath in that particular tank, just like swimming pool we can say. They used to take bath in that particular tank in a religious proper, just like at the night of full moon, like this. And on particular days, on particular religious functions, they used to collect over there, and they took bath over there, and they meet their people, their friends, their relatives over there. Only rich class people, not the lower class people. This is the example of great bath. And in Mohenjo-daro, we have seen a lot of granaries where they collect their grains, where they collect their grains. After surviving the grains, they collect over there. They collect the grains for any mishappening, just like any floods, just like any earthquake. They used to collect over there the grains. In political system, we can use, we have got a statue of priest king. We have got a statue of priest king, and there is no political leader at that time. Only that particular priest king, the high official, that was the priest king. They used to give order, and the society always obey that order. That is the main difference between the political system of that time and the political system of present time. Because if we have seen, if we have listened about political system, we used to learn about a king, we used to learn about the people of that king, which they follow the king's order. But there was no king, and in the Mohenjo-daro, only that priest king used to give order to the particular society. And a lot of craft work they used to do in Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. Craft work just like bead making, and craft work just like garland making, craft work. They almost ladies used to do the craft work at their homes. And for their subsistence, they used to do agriculture, tool making, weapons making, weapons for hunting, not for the wars. Weapons, they used to make weapons for hunting only, not for the war. Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, these were the two important and famous urban areas of the Indus Valley civilization. Bhimbetka is present in Madhya Pradesh today. Mehergarh also. Dholavira is also part of Indus Valley civilization. And in Indus Valley civilization, we have studied about a lot of things, just like drainage system. Drainage system, there was a different drainage system at that time. There were 700 wells we got in archaeological survey at that time. 700 wells. Well, wells means we came to know about that wells, that every house has its own well, and the well place on the outer area of that house, outer area, so that every passenger, if he or she is thirsty, they used to take water from that well. And this was the main purpose of the well, which they connected to the outer area of their house. Wells, 700 wells we got over there. Takshila, Amravati, Sanchi, these were the Buddhism sites which we will know about in our other chapters. We will connect this. Now we are going to start the summary. Summary which we have reconstructed, which we have studied about in this unit 2. Summary. Archaeology helps. What is archaeology? Archaeology helps in reconstructing the past. Reconstructing the past to know about the present. through the study of material remains by the humans. The humans, just like in this valley civilization, we have taken example, a lot of examples we have taken. We have studied a lot of things about Indus Valley civilization. A lot of archaeologists surveyed a lot in reconstructing about the archaeological material, about the archaeological sites through the study of material remains left by the humans. The data is collected in the field by surface explorations, by field walking, employing a wide range of non destructive scientific methods. Non destructive scientific methods means by which we cannot destruct anything in the particular excavation. Excavation at the archaeological sites inform us about artifacts and ecofacts in their proper context. After excavation, the analysis. That is a very tough thing. We have done the excavations and now we are going to analyze. Analysis of a wide variety of evidence is done through the methods, through the techniques adopted from social sciences and natural sciences. They enable us in dating the evidence, understanding the past human behavior, settlements, production process in past technologies, trade and exchange, subsistence and diet, and aspects of social life such as status, religion, rituals, and so on. The importance of archaeology as a source is not limited to the ancient period. The importance of archaeology is a source is not limited to the ancient period, but it can be extended to the material remains of the medieval and even contemporary periods. You know about the summary of archaeology? Archaeology means the important thing in this unit is how we reconstruct, how we reconstruct our past. That is the main and important question about this unit. And some important questions I'm going to tell you about this unit, just like describe about the stupas. Stupas means Amravati Stupa, Sanchi Stupa, Bharat Stupa. Three, four stupas we have heard about this. And stupas, I have told you earlier that these were the places where relics are remained now of Gautam Buddha. Okay, Gautam Buddha's relics, just like death of Gautam Buddha, just like sermon of Gautam Buddha, and relics, these type of things were preserved over there in that stupa. The condition of stupa is not very good, was not very good at that time. The Amravati stupa was always almost broken at that time. Some foreigners came when the British period was going on in India. The Britishers came to India and they used to collect so many things from Amravati stupa. And at that time, the kings and queens of the India, which of the particular place, they used to give the plaster cast copy to that particular British officers, and the original one kept over there. And after that, they came to know about the plaster cast copies. And Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, I have told you. And yes, now I'm going to tell you about, I have told you drainage system about Mohenjo-daro, drainage system of Harappa. Now I'm going to tell you about the burial system about Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Dholavira, or Indus Valley civilization. Burial system of that time was very different. They used to bury that particular body inside the earth, and they before their burial system, before their burial, they give their favorite things to that particular one. Just like somebody has its pet lover dog, Just like they bury that particular dog with the mummy. That is important, and that is a very interesting thing which we have heard about Harappan peoples. The favorite things, favorite jewelry, and favorite food items, favorite toys, favorite things they have buried with that particular mummy. When the archaeologists excavate that particular place, they found that things. Then they came to know about the burial system of Indus Valley civilization. That is a different thing which we have heard, which we have studied about Indus Valley civilization, Indus Valley people. That is the burial system. And what about society of Indus Valley civilization? In the social system of Indus Valley civilization, we came to know about that men's and women's both wore jewelry. Different type of jewelry they wore, just like women wore garlands, bangles, and head gaps, just like some used to pile. Okay, and for men's, they use bangle. They used to wear earrings. They used to wear different type of garland. Both men's and women's wore jewelry in the social system, and so many other things which they used for their survival, just like craft making they used to do over there. So many things we have studied about Harappans, Mohenjo-daro, Dholavira, Takshila, Amravati, Sachi, and Zhuanzhang and Faxian and Alexander Cunningham. We have studied about this, and I told you earlier about the confusion of Alexander Cunningham. Confusion of Alexander Cunningham. When Zhuanzhang and Faxian in 5th century and 7th century came to India to search about their guru, their god, Mahatma Buddha, Gautam Buddha, to search about Mahatma Buddha. They went to Sarnath, where Gautam Buddha has given his first sermon, Bodh Gaya, where Gautam Buddha was born, Kushinagar, where Buddha was dead. So many places they visit over there, and they give a lot of description in their books. And after studying about their books, Alexander Cunningham thought that this was the particular history. This was the first history, Indian history, to know about India. That was the Alexander's Cunningham's confusion. And after that, when he met to John Marshall, when he met to R.E.M. Wheeler, they they cleared their confusion that this was not a particular starting history of Indus Valley civilization, starting history of India. With this is not the particular. And the first, we have studied about a lot of things, and literary sources we have studied about, archaeological sources we have studied about, so many things we have studied about that particular Indian history. This was not the particular Indian history. This was the 5th century and 7th centuries history. Century, 2nd century, 3rd century. Then they cleared their confusion, Cunningham's confusion. So many things we have studied about that particular thing. And in the summary, we will collect again the important things. These excavation reconstruct about the archaeological material, which we came to know about in that particular archaeological site. Which data is collected, and data is collected. After collecting data, we used to use uh, carbon dating method. Carbon dating methods, which we we touch that particular object, and we will come to know about that how much time it spent in this earth, how much time before it was spending over there, just like anything which we excavate from the archaeological site. This was the example to know about the archaeological survey of India. Excavations, after excavation, analysis is a important thing. For analyzing, it is very tough method. It is very tough method to know about that particular date and what the techniques they were adopting. And the techniques adopted that was from social sciences department and natural sciences department. And this type of techniques they were using that time. They enable us in dating. Dating means they give the dates, just like how much days before this object was placing. The evidence, understanding past, human behavior, settlements, production process. Settlement means how much time they use to give their settlements. Production process and past technologies. Which technologies they were using at that time. Just like weapons making, just like tool making, just like craft, just like so many things they were used. Just like, and for example, trade, barter system. I told you, exchange, barter system, and before barter, they used sometimes. We have some examples to that they using gold coins, and gold was coming from no gold coins. Gold coins were started by Kanishka in the Kushana period. That is not the particular time of to introduce about gold coins. Gold jewelry we were talking about. Gold jewelry. And the gold was coming from, they export the gold from Oman. Subsistence and diet. Subsistence means how they eat, how they collect their material to eat, how they run their families, and diet, how much diet they were gaining at that time. Aspects of social life, such as status. Status about, I told you about priest king, about higher class people, rural class people, two type of class distribution at that time. Religion, so many religions they belong to, just like uh, they they pray sun, they pray uh, sun god, moon god, uh, nature god, nature goddess, just like they pray uh, tulsi, they pray people tree, they pray people tree at that time also, and they offer the fish in front of their god. So many things they were doing at that time. The importance of archaeology as a source is not limited, because so many things we, the archaeological department of India, they do survey at that time, at today also. It is not limited to the ancient period, but it can be extended to the material remains of the medieval and even contemporary period also, this time also. Yes. Now, Unit 2 is covered in this class, and in our next class, we will start Unit 3.